Generating traffic and sales can be a challenge for online merchants. But selling on the Walmart Marketplace puts your products in front of millions of customers who shop on Walmart.com. And right now, sellers who join Walmart Marketplace can save up to 50% on referral and fulfillment fees for the first 90 days. So get started today. Head over to marketplace.walmart.com/savings. That's marketplace.walmart.com/savings.
Welcome to E-Commerce Conversations, a weekly podcast focusing on e-commerce topics featuring interviews with prominent people in the e-commerce space.
Welcome to E-Commerce Conversations by Practical E-Commerce. I'm Kerry Murdoch. Mobile devices could be the next major platform from which consumers shop for products. But for e-commerce merchants, there are issues with mobile commerce having to do with screen size, product images, and payments. Payments on a mobile device from a consumer to a merchant can be difficult. But there are companies seeking to simplify paying for products online via a mobile device, and one of them is Mpayy. Its CEO and founder, Conrad Sheehan, joins us today. Well, Conrad, thank you for your time today.
And thank you, Kerry.
Conrad, tell us, what is Mpayy?
Mpayy is a payment platform, an alternative payment platform for online merchants and online buyers that is completely outside of the Visa MasterCard network.
Interesting. So, mobile payments. Is it fair to say that the platform specializes in mobile payments? First of all.
Yes, our platform is built around the mobile phone number. So that's how we identify buyers and sellers, is via their cell phone number. And one of the ways in which people conduct transactions is through our mobile website or through our Android application or our iPhone application.
Okay. So our listeners and readers, of course, are e-commerce merchants, mainly smaller e-commerce merchants. Could you tell them, please, some of the issues involved with mobile payments from their perspective?
Mobile pay. I mean, it's a very different channel. You're dealing with a much smaller screen. You're dealing with fewer keys. It's not a full QWERTY keyboard in many instances. And that inherently creates a different user experience, particularly for the buyer, where the ability to type in a full set of 16-digit credit card numbers, a 4-digit expiration number, a 3-digit CVV, full address, full shipping address, and billing is extremely problematic, particularly for a traditional 10-key phone. It's even difficult on a fairly sophisticated smartphone. And that's one of the fundamental challenges, that any payment system looking to enable mobile commerce and enable merchants to sell through that channel needs to solve, where it has to be a simple yet secure way to pay, because it is a great channel.
So a merchant, let's think about this. A merchant puts his cart or puts his store on a mobile optimized site, and your solution is there. So merchants' customers would use your solution to make a purchase off the merchant's site, and
correct.
All right, and the consumer, the charge would appear on their cell phone bill.
No, it actually appears. It comes right out of their checking account.
Oh, okay.
Or a stored value account if a person does not have a bank account. And all they need to do to make a purchase is enter their cell phone number and password.
Oh.
So that's what we're driving toward, is knowing that a buyer is not going to go through that process of the multi-screen checkout that we're used to on e-commerce is not going to port itself to the small screen. And so a buyer can, if they find what they want, they type in their cell phone number and password, and we can send the address and the shipping address on the server-to-server side to the merchant. So it becomes a very simple purchase process. We essentially cut out all the screens that one would experience on traditional e-commerce.
Consumers would need to sign up for your service first.
Yes, they will open up an Mpayy account first online. They can open that up right at the merchant's website, or they can open it up at mpayy.com.
How do you handle disputes?
If a customer doesn't get what they ordered, or it's the wrong item, we obviously want to make sure that they've contacted the merchant first. Then we collect information from the merchant and from the buyer and adjudicate it in a very, very similar way to how credit card chargebacks would occur. We just do it a lot faster.
Conrad, many merchants ask us the following questions about mobile apps. They're wondering, number one, how much money they should invest if they should develop a mobile optimized site. They know that there are some options there. Hypothetically, let's assume I'm an e-commerce merchant with $1 million in annual sales. What should my mobile strategy be?
$1 million in sales, your net margin is going to be some relatively small percent off that, in all likelihood, of traditional retail. That is a great question, because building a mobile optimized site takes time and energy and capital, because every phone is a little bit different for the mobile web, and you have to spend a lot of time thinking about how do I optimize it, and then you have to code it against that. And you always have to keep an eye on what's the most popular phones. If a new phone comes out, you want to make sure your site renders properly on that phone. And you usually have many, many versions, and we have multiple operating systems on the different phones as well, which segues into, do I build an iPhone app or do I build an Android app? A well-done iPhone app will probably run you north of $20,000. Maybe a bit more. Same with the Android platform.
Are those two separate apps?
Yeah, the Android is the operating system that's was launched in 2009 by Google, and it came out on T-Mobile, Sprint, and Verizon. It's very, very good, and it's a strong competitor to the iPhone experience on AT&T.
So if I develop an iPhone app, do I essentially start from scratch to develop an Android app?
Yep, they're two total. Yeah, that's the overall design will be similar, but all the development and all the coding underneath is completely different.
Okay.
There's no, you can't borrow the code from one to make the other.
Okay, so let's say you're an e-commerce merchant with $1 million in sales, fairly tight margins. What would you do, mobile-wise?
I, frankly, would take a look at who my customers are, and what's my average ticket? A high average ticket is not going to create the beachhead and drive early adoption on the mobile side. It will be lower average ticket transactions, almost micropayments. If it's something that can be delivered digitally, that's also more likely to get earlier adoption. I would certainly take a look at the mobile web. You can do relative, versus the Android and the iPhone. You can get a decent look and feel out there for most of the popular devices with relative ease. You can actually do payments as a merchant, a merchant with $1 million in sales, by having the customer pay you through Mpayy. And they can make a payment through Mpayy today, right now, with no development by the merchant. But if they want to get their products and their catalog out on the mobile web, that's what I would do first. Is develop a mobile optimized website. And there's a couple companies out there. One's called UsableNet, and there's another one that creates essentially a mobile mall. So they do all that work for you. So I would take a look at that first. It will be a relatively small investment, and to see how my consumers and my buyers react to it before I dive and put $50,000 into iPhone and Android. I think that's exactly what I would do. I would get my information out on the mobile web, track statistics, see if people are surfing it. I would conduct my payments through Mpayy, because you don't have to spend any money to do that, and we're the least expensive merchant fees. And if I saw a lot of traction, then I would use that to justify an application development, and I would do Android first, because that's on so many carriers. And they're going to be on phones that are both very expensive as well as fairly inexpensive, from Verizon and Sprint and T-Mobile, versus an iPhone, which is only on AT&T, and it's a fairly expensive device. So you'll reach more customers that way.
How many Android phones are there versus iPhones? Do you know? Roughly?
It's a rapidly moving number. The short answer, though, is that Android is coming out on three carriers: Sprint, T-Mobile, and Verizon. And iPhone is only on AT&T, and only on the iPhone device. HTC, Samsung are producing multiple devices, all of which run on Android. So you're going to get 1 year from now, there's a very, very good chance there will be many more Android devices out there. So as I'm, putting my toe in the water on my mobile website, using a partner to turnkey it, 6 months, 9 months from now, you'll see many, many, many Android devices out there on Verizon, Sprint, and T-Mobile, and AT&T is even looking at it. Then I'd say, well, let me build my Android app. It's in Java, and it's a lot easier to find a Java developer at a good price point than it is to find an iPhone developer, which is in C++ or in C. So you'll be able to find more resources that way as a merchant. So that's I would do mobile web using a partner. Then I would do Android, and then I would do iPhone.
Okay, that makes sense.
That's exactly what we did also. We did mobile web, then we did Android, and then we did iPhone.
Interesting. You addressed this question partially just a minute ago, Conrad, and the question is this. Pundits have told us that, at least here in the United States, consumers use mobile devices for e-commerce mainly to shop and compare and not to actually buy. Is that true?
Yes. Well, people love to shop, even when they have no intention of buying. And it's also part that the purchase process is difficult. And that's one of the problems that needs to be solved, and that's one of the problems we at Mpayy are solving.
How does a merchant incorporate Mpayy into, say, a mobile optimized site? How does that work? They've got a mobile optimized site. They want to incorporate your solution.
You're mobile optimized across the most popular devices. For a merchant, with every merchant, it's a spectrum of options, from something very, very simple and easy. You open up an Mpayy merchant account. You get a merchant ID, and people pay you that way. They could do that today with no development. The next step up from that would be creating a hyperlink from their mobile optimized site to us. Just simply clicking a button, Pay with Mpayy, and it goes from the merchant site to Mpayy site with all the purchase data pre-populated. Essentially a session transfer. You know, the next step beyond that would be through a set of APIs, application programming interfaces, in which there would be development, and the merchant would send us data behind the scenes, and we would send them back, confirmation for the payment, and that could be done from the mobile web, from Android, or from an iPhone. So when they do make that step to one of those applications, we'd be ready to handle their payments across all three platforms: the mobile web, Android, and iPhone.
Conrad, our listeners, of course, are, as I said earlier, mainly smaller e-commerce merchants. Anything else on your mind for them today?
We feel we have a great set of tools for small merchants. It's a simple account with great reporting that you can access from your computer or from your mobile phone. We have what we think is the best set of and most competitive set of merchant fees, the ability to develop electronic invoices simply and easily that can be detailed out for multiple item orders, taxes, shipping. That's all simple and free. And it's a simple process to set up an account, a simple process to manage your sales. And we would love to see as many of your listeners and readers sign up.
I should have asked you about fees. Is there a setup fee involved?
No. We take 2% and 20 cents for each transaction. There's no other fees. There's no withdrawal fees. There's no reporting fees. No return fees. If you need to do a refund, you go into your activity list, you find the transaction, and you click refund, and we process the refund to the buyer.
Well, Conrad, your firm is Mpayy, and that's M as in Mary, P as in Paul, AYY, Mpayy.com.
Correct.
And Conrad Sheehan, the founder, president, and CEO of Mpayy. We want to thank you for your time today, sir.
And thank you, Kerry.
Thank you.
That's all the time we have for this week's e-commerce conversation. I hope you enjoyed it. Please tune in next week for another new episode.